Well, I think the perceived risks in community are often real. You know, there are issues in communities. And so the question isn't really just the risk, but can you manage the risk? Because none of us would ever leave our homes if we couldn't manage the risks in community, because we all face them. So how we manage it typically is making judgments about what are reasonable safeguards. And we live our lives according to the confidence we have in the safeguards. If we feel the safeguards aren't there, we might not do something because we feel it's just unreasonable risk. So many people talk about the dignity of risk. And I think there is dignity in risk, but there's no dignity in reckless risk. That's just foolhardy. So you should take risks that seem prudent. And many risks, once one becomes accustomed to them, are much easier to manage. But when it's new to you, your judgment about the risk may not be very good. So this is why parents exist, really, is to raise your children so they don't kill themselves on their way to adulthood. Because, finding out what's a real risk and isn't always obvious, whether you're a child or adult. And so, there are risks everywhere we turn. If you think just recently about the whole global financial collapse, it's full of risk. So the minute you save money and put it in a bank, suddenly you've taken a risk. And a lot of people took big risks. And so nobody has a risk-free existence, so you can't use that as the standard. All you can use as a standard is that the risks have been managed prudently, reasonably, with some wisdom, some judiciousness, because there is no guarantee that there will not be any risks in life, not all risks can be foreseen. There are such things as accidents, tragedies, where no one actually failed, but the events were unforeseeable. And so in that way, we don't stop living because of those things, but it does give us pause. We'll normally ask ourselves after events like that, I wonder if we could have done something. So in that sense, if it was all clear all the time what the risks are, then we'd have no problems. But the great risk is that we won't know everything, so we simply have to kind of push ahead. Nonetheless, for instance, you think of marriage, a very popular concept, been around for a long time. You can't go to the marriage shop, Marriage R Us, and get the package you want. And so marriage itself is a risk, because you simply don't know what you've just got yourself into. And of course, that's why it's good to have a second choice, like divorce, because the risk is there, but it's not a reason not to get married, but it is, or to have children, or to take a new job, or any kind of decision in life. But you want to, as much as possible, have good intentional safeguards, and then make the most of it, knowing full well you can't cover all the bases. I mean, the most insane thing in life probably would be to have children, because you actually have no idea what you just did, having children, and yet most people would say that their children were a great joy, notwithstanding. So, this is where we shouldn't impose on people with disabilities a standard of risk avoidance that we wouldn't have for ourselves.